Hey there. Today, I want to share some pretty striking news coming out of Berlin. We're talking about a grenade attack that happened in one of the city's liveliest areas. Can you believe it? Two unidentified people threw a grenade into a nightclub. Luckily, no one got hurt, but the damage was pretty serious. The German police are treating this as organized crime. These groups are clearly fighting for territory. In other news, pharmacies across Germany decided to turn off their lights as part of a nationwide protest. And get this, a wedding celebration turned into a massive brawl with around 30 people involved. Talk about a wild event. There's also some big news from Mercedes that's making waves in the auto industry. On top of that, there are new asylum seekers arriving in Berlin, and it's stirring up some questions about long-term commitments. We have a giant trade deal that's been in the works for a quarter of a century, but guess what? It might fall apart right at the finish line. In France, farmers are blocking roads and railways for the second day in a row. Meanwhile, British doctors are threatening to strike just as hospitals are coping with a severe flu season. And on the political front, Elon Musk is opening his wallet for Republicans ahead of the midterms. There's also a newly elected mayor whose journey has taken a surprising turn. Now, I've saved something really intriguing for later in this episode, so stick around for that. A while back, I worked in one of those big-name media companies you've probably heard of. I saw firsthand how editors would reshape stories to fit certain narratives and watched inconvenient truths get buried. It was eye-opening to see how things really work behind the scenes. One day, it hit me. I could keep playing that game or step away and speak the truth. I chose honesty. Now I'm independent, and I answer only to you. I share what truly matters, not what someone upstairs thinks you should know. Before we dive deeper, if you appreciate what we do here, give that like button a tap and subscribe if you haven't already. I gotta be upfront with you though, fact-checking everything, verifying each detail so we don't spread misinformation. It's seriously tiring and requires real resources. If you're in a spot to support this channel, even a little helps us keep going without any compromise. No corporate agendas here, just honest analysis. So hang tight, because what I have waiting for you at the end of this episode is going to bring everything together in a way you won't see coming. Let's kick things off with Berlin and the Kreuzberg district, a hotspot known for its nightlife, clubs, and vibrant energy. It's honestly hard to believe how tense things are getting in Germany right now. In the capital, we've got criminal groups getting bolder, even using grenades in public. This isn't just random violence. It tells us they feel untouchable and think they can do what they want, which is pretty alarming. Law enforcement seems to be struggling to keep up, and the media is actually spotlighting this issue, calling for stronger measures against organized crime. But that's not the only thing happening in Germany today. Tomorrow, all the pharmacies across the country are planning to go dark, but don't worry, they'll keep some emergency lights on. This is a big deal, as pharmacists are rallying together to demand better pay. The guy leading the protest is Thomas Price, who heads the Federal Union of Pharmacy Associations. He's laying it all out for the government, saying things look bleak for pharmacies. Yes, a direct quote. Price wants immediate pay increases, or else we might see a lot of pharmacies closing down. Here's the kicker. Earlier, Federal Health Minister Nina Warren said that the promised pay increases from a coalition agreement just can't be implemented right now. Think about that for a second. They haven't seen a pay raise in 13 years, while their costs have been climbing steadily. So, with wages stuck in place and expenses rising, the government's basically saying, we owe you, but we can't pay. It's a tough spot. And if you think the pressure on society stops there, just wait until you hear this wild story from a wedding in North Rhine-Westphalia. A young couple thought they were celebrating the happiest day of their lives with a classic wedding, everything from traditions to the usual fun. One of those fun traditions involves tossing a tie into the crowd, like the bouquet toss, and whoever catches it is supposed to be the next to tie the knot. Sounds harmless, right? Well, things went sideways when that tie flew into the air. You wouldn't believe the chaos that went down at this wedding. Picture this, 30 people all getting into a massive brawl over, of all things, a tie. The police had to send out several patrol cars to handle the situation. By the time the officers arrived, the actual fight was already over, but the atmosphere was still tense, almost like you could cut it with a knife. Sadly, the bride and one of her guests ended up in the hospital, and the young couple found themselves having panic attacks. What should have been a joyful celebration turned into total chaos. Right now, the police are trying to track down 4 main suspects who are all pointing fingers at each other, men aged from 19 to 47. It really makes you think, though. What kind of pressure are people under that a simple tie toss could spiral into such a huge fight requiring multiple police interventions? It's far from normal, hinting that something deeper might be brewing beneath the surface. It could be economic worries or social tension. Whatever it is, it's manifesting in some pretty bizarre ways. Keep that thought in mind. We'll circle back to those broader issues later. Now let's switch gears and talk about Mercedes. This one's really causing a stir. The new Mercedes-Benz CLA is going to have an engine developed in partnership with the Chinese company Geely. Yes, you heard me right. A well-known German car brand is now using Chinese technology right under the hood. This isn't just a case of buying parts. Geely is stepping up to become, as the German media puts it, the heart of Mercedes. Think about the implications of that. German engineering, which has been legendary for over 100 years, is now sharing some design decisions with Chinese manufacturers. It's amazing to see how quickly things can change and how traditional power dynamics can shift. This is happening in real time in one of Germany's most famous industries. So could we be on the verge of a major shift in global automotive manufacturing? It sure looks like it. And here's another interesting development. 160 Afghan nationals touched down in Berlin thanks to a charter flight arranged by the German government. A representative from the Federal Ministry of Interior confirmed this. These individuals had been promised resettlement after the Taliban took over Kabul during the chaotic American withdrawal under President Biden. Germany is keeping its word on these commitments, and the newcomers came in from Islamabad and will be spread out across different federal states in Germany. I'm not judging whether this is right or wrong. I just find it notable that Germany is following through on its promises. Europe is at a crucial point, especially when it comes to integrating social services and planning for the future. The decisions being made right now are going to shape the continent's demographic and political scene for many years to come. So, if you're finding this information useful, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. I promise you this kind of analysis isn't something you'll typically find in the mainstream media, where the focus is often on not upsetting sponsors. Now, let's get into something that might change global trade. Germany, along with the leadership of the European Union, is making a final push to get Italy on board with a free trade agreement with Mercosur, the South American bloc. Can you believe it? This deal has been in the works for about 25 years. After all that time, it could just fall apart at the finish line. If they don't get it signed soon, it may be scrapped entirely. This would be the biggest deal the EU has made in terms of cutting tariffs. Germany, Spain, and some northern European countries think this agreement could help boost their exports, especially since they've been hit hard by American tariffs. They also see it as a way to lessen reliance on China and to tap into South America's mineral wealth. That's the pitch, but here's the catch. Critics are worried that cheaper goods, particularly beef, will flood the European markets and hurt local farmers who have already been struggling for years. Poland is dead set against it, and France is pushing to delay the signing because farmers there are really upset. Now, Italy's showing signs of disagreement too. It's a real unfolding drama. The tension is thick, especially with Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, who tends to get what she wants and seems to skate past any blame, even when there are serious accusations against her. Meanwhile, in France, things are heating up as farmers are taking to the streets for the second day in a row, blocking roads and railway lines. They're not just upset about how livestock diseases are being managed, they're also protesting broader agricultural issues and trade policies. And yes, they're voicing their opposition to that Mercosur agreement too. These protests have gained momentum and crossed borders, with Spain closing the Biratu border crossing for trucks today to help contain the situation. So, let's start with what's happening in France. Roads are still blocked over there and tensions are running high. French farmers are standing their ground, insisting their demands be heard. It's hard to say how long they can keep this up. Their patience must be wearing thin, and if this continues, we could see more border crossings get shut down. That would really disrupt supply chains, leaving governments with a tough decision: negotiate or ramp things up, neither of which sounds appealing right now. Now, hopping over to Britain, the junior doctors are making some noise of their own. They've flat out rejected the government's recent offer, including Costarma's proposal. They're ready to strike, planning a 5-day walkout this week. Pretty bold considering the government is asking them to avoid causing chaos, especially since hospitals are facing the worst flu wave we've seen in quite some time. It's a tricky situation, But here's the kicker. The strike could potentially be avoided if the health minister actually works with the union and puts forward a solid plan to resolve the jobs crisis and stop those pesky wage cuts that are looming for next year. If the ministry genuinely cares about public health, they'd better take care of healthcare workers too. You can't have one without the other. But here's where things get a bit messy. They're asking doctors to accept pay cuts while juggling a mountain of patients, especially during this severe flu outbreak. I mean, does that sound like a winning strategy for quality healthcare? You can decide how you feel about that. Now, let's take a trip across the Atlantic because there's a development brewing that's bound to ruffle some feathers, especially among Democrats. Elon Musk has surprised a lot of folks by starting to fund Republican campaigns for House and Senate seats in the 2026 midterm elections. These are the elections that Democrats are really counting on, thinking it's their chance to regain power. But Musk is already putting money into helping Republicans clinch those congressional wins. And he's made it clear he's going to keep supporting them throughout the whole election cycle. We won't know the exact figures until the campaign finance reports drop next month. But reports are saying his backing might be huge for the Republicans as they try to fend off the Democrats. It's quite a wild time in the political scene, isn't it? Just last month, there was this dinner between Elon Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance, and it seems like that led to some hefty donations aimed at regaining congressional control. And speaking of Elon Musk, he's been chatting with Donald Trump here and there too. It looks like whatever differences they had in the past are behind them now. Now, on to a story that's caught my attention. New York City just elected a new mayor, Mamani, who used to be pretty vocal about supporting Palestine. His statement stirred up quite the conversation in the media and sparked some serious debates on social media. So, what's the first thing he did once he took office? He paid a visit to the grave of the Lubavitcher Rebbe while wearing a black velvet cap, no less. He took the time to pray at the gravesite and has since met multiple times with important figures from the Jewish community, expressing his commitment to support them. Interesting enough, he's not the first high-profile leader to make this pilgrimage. Others, including U.S. President Donald Trump and Argentina's President Javier Milei, have also visited the same site. The former New York mayor, Eric Adams, was known to visit there, claiming it inspired him. Mamani also showed up at an event held by various Orthodox Jewish groups in New York, where he honored the memory of a rabbi who fled from Nazi-occupied Europe during World War II. It seems like everything is aligning with Chabad Lubavitch. We'll just have to see where this all leads next. To sum it all up, what we're witnessing is a lot of tension in multiple Western democracies at once. In Berlin, criminal organizations are getting bolder, while essential services are gearing up to protest over stagnant wages. We're seeing social unrest spilling into wedding celebrations, historic trade agreements breaking down under political pressure, and farmers feeling abandoned, leading them to shut down infrastructure. Meanwhile, healthcare workers aren't even interested in government solutions during this health crisis. There's a lot happening out there, and I'll be sure to keep you updated on the most important developments as they come up. It's pretty wild how we're seeing political figures making gestures that really don't match what they used to say. This isn't just a few scattered events, it's actually a sign of something bigger. These moments are like pressure points in systems that were created for different times and situations. The real question isn't whether any single story is important, but what will happen when all these pressure points start acting up at the same time. We might be on the brink of finding out. If you enjoy this kind of analysis and want to keep seeing stories that connect the dots instead of treating everything as unrelated noise, I could use your support. A quick like on this video, subscribing if you haven't already, or even considering sponsoring the channel makes a huge difference. No corporate money means no corporate influence, which is really important. It lets me share what I see without worrying about who I might bother. That's something worth holding on to. I really appreciate you taking the time to think critically and care about what's going on in our world. Now, before I wrap things up, I want to have an honest moment with you. We're navigating a media world that often seems to be more about confusion than clarity. Every day I sift through tons of noise, cross-check sources, and do the tough, often tiring work of fact-checking. I want to make sure you're not just given another round of convenient stories or fake news. It's a challenging job, and honestly, the big networks have millions of dollars to drown out voices like mine. That's why I really need you in my corner. It takes just a moment to hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. It doesn't cost you anything, but it sends a clear signal that you're paying attention. If you value this honest perspective and want me to keep speaking truth to power, please think about becoming a sponsor. Your support is our safety net. It helps us stay independent, truthful, and unafraid to dig into the issues that matter. I'm doing this for you because you deserve to know the whole story. Thank you for standing by me.